So my wife Kenzie, 25F, and I, 25M, have been married for just over a year and we're expecting our first child this year. This will be my parents' first grandchild and this has caused some craziness from my mom. She has aimed most of this at Kenzie, but I did step in when I learned how pushy my mom became. This started right after our pregnancy announcement. My mom went to Kenzie and told her we should name our child Roger if we had a boy and Elizabeth if we have a girl. Roger was my mom's grandfather and she wanted to name me or one of my brothers Roger, but Dad vetoed the name every time. Elizabeth is her favorite girl name and my dad vetoed that for my sisters too. Kenzie told her we weren't really looking for name suggestions and we had discussed a few already. My mom told her the names were important and should be used. A couple of weeks after the first incident, my mom asked Kenzie if she knew whether baby Roger or baby Elizabeth was joining the family. Kenzie told her neither of those names were in the running and we didn't know yet. Kenzie mentioned Mom bringing up the names to me then but downplayed how pushy she was being, so I said nothing at that point. We learned we were having a boy and my mom became so pushy that she ordered blankets and clothes with the name Roger embroidered on them. The first we knew of this is when she gave us a little door decoration with the name Roger on it. I told my mom then that we hadn't finalized a name yet and wouldn't be announcing it until after he's here anyway. She went to Kenzie yet again and told her she was pissing her off by refusing to comply. They argued about it and Kenzie told me about it afterward. I went to talk to my mom and make some things clear and she asked why nobody in this family wanted to use the names she loved. I told her that was something she should work through herself because we are not obligated to use them for her. She then sent a gift package with all the clothes and blanket with the name Roger and she sent them to my wife and posted them on social media. This made people assume we had chosen the name Roger. This is when I lost it and went over to confront her about the pushiness. She told me it was important to take her opinion on board as my mom and our son's grandma. And that's when I told her she had zero rights to name our baby and her opinion wasn't wanted or important here. My mom told me it was rude to dismiss her opinion and her feelings as unimportant and I should have more respect for her. It made me realize we need space from her right now, but also I do wonder if I went too far. Comment 1. Oh honey, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Her entitlement to this baby because he's your child, and you belong to her, is in full flow. She sees herself more important than his mommy. NTA. You didn't go too far. You didn't go far enough. She has to learn that any boundary stomping or disrespect to your wife's authority as this baby's mom is going to have consequences. And those consequences are going to be that she won't have the grandmother experience you were hoping for. Start by saying to her, don't text her, call her, that you have asked your wife to block her number in her phone. You will deal with any communication from now on, because mom can't be respectful to your wife. Make it clear that the only person you care about at the moment is your wife and you will always put her first. Comment 2. NTA and it's your mom who's gone too far. Tell her that Roger is definitely off the table as far as names go, and she needs to let it go. Any more of that behavior from her will result in you contacting her physician about your concerns for her mental health, as she seems to be under the illusion that she's having a baby with you. Comment 3. NTA and not too far, your dad shit it down but she expects you to cave, just say no and she can either be a grandma to your baby boy of your name choosing or not a grandma at all. Your poor wife, she'll be pushed around on everything needing to be done grandma's way. You need to keep pushing back hard to nip this. About 3 years ago, my stepsister Daphne got pregnant. She and her husband Jim were thrilled, but found out at the 20-week scan that the baby had a congenital condition and would be born severely disabled. Apologies if these are insensitive terms, I am not sure how people prefer to say it. Daphne decided to keep going with the pregnancy despite Jim's protests and they split up, but got back together by the time their son Liam was born. He is now 2 years old. Over the last 2 years, Daphne's and Jim's mental health has declined significantly. Daphne used to be a positive and pleasant person, but now it's impossible to have a conversation with her. She is malicious, envious, and flies off the handle at any perceived slight. When I was having my child, I didn't speak to her for most of the pregnancy because of how bitter and narcissistic she was. We don't live close to Daphne, so rarely see her in person, but I heard she was getting worse from our parents. In early November, Daphne had a mental breakdown. She trashed Liam's room completely and vandalized Jim's car in a fit of rage. This was enough to finally get her moved up the waiting list for mental health services, and she started therapy. She reached out to me during this time, and we had a few conversations, and I invited her and Jim to visit my husband and I for a vacation at our beach house in March. Then we saw Daphne and Jim over Christmas, and it was awful. Daphne could keep herself in check for a couple of hours, but then she would revert back to her old self. She would swear constantly, and while I know Liam can't understand her, I think swearing at kids isn't okay. Whenever I expressed concern for her, she would just snap that I need to get off my high horse about having a perfect child. Jim was snapping at her constantly. He would also constantly ask to hold or play with my child, to the point it got annoying. Overall, the whole Christmas break was just the whole family being anxious over the situation. My husband finally said a week ago that he didn't want Daphne and Jim visiting, and I agreed. I called Daphne and said that something had come up with my husband's work and we needed to cancel the trip. Daphne was furious. Apparently her therapist had been saying how good this break would be for her. They haven't been on vacation since having Liam, and I owed her this one thing to help her. Eventually she gave up and said I was a horrible person for pulling the rug out from under her and hung up. I feel bad if I'm derailing her recovery, and even my parents think I shouldn't have cancelled, which is making me rethink things. They saw how absolutely horrible she was to me over Christmas, they saw how obsessed Jim became with my child, and they still think I should have put that aside, and they're not normally the keep the peace people, so maybe I really am in the wrong. Comment 1. NTA. While your sister's mental health issues are tragic, her behaviors during Christmas pretty much told you what you, and your family, can expect during another visit. You most certainly did not derail her recovery. She needs a lot more help than you can provide to her, including finding some specialized babysitting for her son. You don't owe to her, nor to your parents, the stress that she will put you and your family under. Comment 2. NTA. How is a change of venue going to improve your sister's mental health? She's still going to be responsible for her child, jealous of the attention her husband will give your child, and becoming unstable and defensive when challenged regarding unacceptable behavior. She obviously isn't telling her therapist everything, and the first thing they should be looking at is regular and local respite care to get a break from being parents of a special needs child. They need time to breath. Comment 3. NTA. It's not your job to give her peace by ruining your own. You are required, as a decent human being, to help her if it lies within your means, but only without injuring yourself or your family to do so. You could facilitate her help by maybe paying for a babysitter so they could go out for a break together, if you could afford it. But you aren't required to babysit yourself. Do you see what I mean? There might be ways you could help her, but they don't need you to give up your personal peace, or your family space. No doubt she is in a tough spot, but how she has reacted says more about her mental health than your decision. I hope she gets the help she needs, but she really needs professional help. She has big problems, and likely a holiday was only ever going to paper over a crack or two. So, I know it might seem a bit stupid, but it's important to me. It is currently an argument with my family. I 25F had my prom in 2017, and I bought my entire prom outfit for myself due to my family not having the best economy, and I saved for over a year to be able to buy my dream dress and jewelry, everything in total about $300, which is a lot for us. I had an amazing time, and that dress is very important to me since I have never had the best self-confidence, and it made me feel beautiful. Now my sister 18F, let's call her Annie, is having her prom later this year, and she asked if she could use my dress as well. She loves it and wished to use it. I told her that I would prefer if she didn't since it is so important to me. I also have a neuro disorder and it makes it hard for me to let other people use my things, and she said okay and said she at least wanted to ask, but she was fine with finding another dress, and I said it'd help pay if she wanted, and if she wanted, she was welcome to use the jewelry, she will wear the hair accessories, I am pretty stable in income. Annie thanked me and said we could go shopping together. Now, I live about 3 hours away from my family due to school, and I don't go home often due to not having a car. I came home last week to visit as my nephew's cousin's kids, she's like a sister, are getting baptized. When I walk through the front door to my parents' house, Annie is wearing my prom dress and my grandma and mom are taking measurements. I ask them what they are doing and they said that I'm being Amma for not letting Annie use it. She is my baby sister after all, mom's words. I got upset and screamed at Annie to take it off, which I later apologized for. She believed I changed my mind since mom said I had agreed. I yelled at my mom and grandma because they tried to go behind my back and even change the dress to better fit Annie. She is 155 pounds, I was almost 300 pounds when I wore it. I cried and yelled at them. As soon as Annie came back with my dress, I took it and packed it down, saying I'd stay with my cousin. Now my family is torn. Some people agreeing with me and some saying I'm an a-hole for not letting Annie use it. I don't feel like I was in the wrong for not letting her use it. After all, it was all my dress that I paid for and I even offered to pay for her dress. Comment 1. NTA, they are literally cutting up your dress that you paid for yourself. That's not letting your sister borrowing it, that is making it for her and giving it to her. Your mother had no right to let her have your property. Honestly, if I were you, I'd demand that my mother pays me back for the sum of the dress because what they are doing to it is irreversible. Not only that, but why would your sister put it on because your mother said so? It does not belong to her, so she shouldn't have been asked. Comment 2. I'm going with NTA because I don't like people using my things either, especially after I said no. But think about it differently. Yes, you bought the dress all on your own and it is your dress, but is it a dress that you will wear again? Is it something that you will pass down on your future children, if you have any, or to anyone else in years to come? Are you saving that dress to wear it on a special occasion in the future? I'm not saying that you must or should change your decision, but I'm just trying to make you think a bit differently. You are entitled to keep that dress as long as you like and just have it hidden in your closet. The decision is yours. Comment 3. NTA. It is your dress, you do with it whatever you see fit, and a no is a complete sentence. The argument of she's your baby sister holds zero water. Being younger isn't a free pass to any older sibling's belongings, even more so if they were trying to modify it so it would fit her. People should stop applying this ridiculous expectation that oldest have to share whatever they have with their younger siblings, especially when there is no reason to. Your sister asked you, you said no, it should have stopped at that. My wife has a bad habit of giving away or lending out things that don't belong to her. I've lost count of how many times I go to look for something of mine only for her to say she lent it to somebody. She also takes forever to get the item back. She once lent my stuff to a coworker and refused to ask for it back for a month. And I'll never forget the day my usually quiet, reserved son snapped at her for trying to give away his Nintendo Switch. If I wasn't also fed up with her behavior, I would have washed his mouth out with soap. I've had countless talks with her, but she continues to do this. My son and I have resorted to locking up anything we didn't want touched, which is something we shouldn't have to do in our own home. Last week I won a $300 tent in a raffle. I had no plans on using it, so I was selling it. When I found a buyer and went to look for it, I couldn't find it. When I asked my wife, she said she gave it to a friend of ours. I got mad at her and said she had no right to give it away. Her defense was, since I didn't spend money on it and was I planning on using it, it made sense to give it away for free. I told her that wasn't her decision to make, but she just kept repeating herself. I had enough of this and said she's either going to pay me herself or get the money from who she gave it to, and if she didn't, I'd get law enforcement involved. Since she'd rather die than ask a friend for money, she paid me out of her own pocket. This issue eventually got around to her family. While they did say she should have talked to me first, they also reprimanded me for asking for payment. They reasoned that since I didn't actually buy the tent, I didn't lose any money and it went to a friend who could actually put it to good use. I got several texts saying I should be ashamed for extorting my wife for money. I think I have every right to want to be paid for something of mine that was taken, but everyone keeps emphasizing the fact that I didn't technically buy the tent and didn't want it, so I have nothing to be upset about. Comment 1. NTA. She absolutely shouldn't have done that. What it sounds like is your family and friends don't understand the magnitude of the situation. Of course they think it's absurd because they don't know that she does this all the time. You're just finally fed up with and put your foot down. Honestly, sounds like you should have done that a while ago. How would she feel if her stuff just went missing? Tell her she stops, and if she doesn't, I would give her a taste of her own medicine. I would take things of hers and just give them away. Even if I just pretended I did, just to prove a point. Sounds petty, I know, but she clearly isn't getting it any other way. Comment 2. Honestly, it sounds as if your wife has an issue she needs to see a professional about. Giving away your family property, not looking after to get it back, caring more about what her colleagues and friends think than how she makes her family feel, this is sort of a worrying thing. She doesn't prioritize you and your son. She sounds as if she has problem with definition of personal property. Comment 3. I've seen this in my mom. Hers comes from a desperate need to be liked and look good. She loves the rush of being the person who gave someone the thing they want or need. Since I was her kid, there's no rush from doing what I wanted because I should love her by default. But coming through with a PlayStation for a new family in town, or party clothes for her friend's daughters, or the shoes her niece wanted in addition to the pair my mom had actually bought as a gift? All my possessions and given publicly to make her look good in front of friends and family.